So welcome everyone to our second edition of the Rubach Wealth Living Room Giving. Today I'm ecstatic to have these two enormous, huge personalities, Ellen and Leanne, who will present their own causes and just continue with their mission, sharing what they do and how they do it. It's just so fascinating and inspiring. And I mean, I don't have enough words to introduce them. Two causes really close to our hearts. And today, like last time, we want to shine a light on how COVID has impacted these two causes. As you know, we will have them present and we'll go, it's a conversation. And at the end, we really welcome your questions because at the end of the day, this is an event for you and for people like you who are curious about philanthropy, different causes, what's going on in your neighborhood, and what a better opportunity to ask Ellen or Leanne about what they do and how they do it. So Ellen, Leanne, welcome. Thank you for being part of this, and let's get started. So alphabetically, Ellen, please tell us what's your cause and how and where and what do you do? And of course, how has COVID impacted you?
Hi, thank you so much for having me today. Project Give Back is a program designed for elementary students to have the power in themselves to give back to the community. It's all based on empathy, compassion, acceptance, and community mindedness. What happened, I was a school teacher for 20 years and I designed this into my own class and saw what happened when children were able to share what truly mattered to them. And then they became the teachers. And it was amazing what happened. So I decided I had to take this on the road and share it with other students in other classrooms. The logo is a boomerang. And it's all about when you throw kindness out into the world, it hits you back. I learned that very early with my son, Jacob. He was born with a fatal neurodegenerative disease. So he wasn't able to walk or talk or see or move. He taught me so much about life and living that I began to teach it to my students. And I used to bring him into the classes and I saw what happened with children when they were able to ask questions and understand life from someone else's perspective. It just opened up so many doors for them. And the most important door was empathy. So I took it on, and now before COVID hit, we were up to 30 teachers and over 65 classes a week and had taught over 10,000 children the power of empathy, compassion, and giving back. And it was growing, and then COVID. So we had to really cut back, but we were able to restructure. And right away, many of our private schools, we could just get online and continue and just tweak it as we were going. But we had to cut back from the public schools, which was really too bad because we miss those kids so much. But it's given us time to revamp and pivot and to look forward to the future. So next year we will be growing again, and we have a training program which is just being established that it can be online anywhere in the world, and that's really exciting. So that's something that happened with COVID. So yeah, we're just true believers. If you believe in your children and you believe in their abilities and you listen to their stories, because every single one of them has a story to share, we can all be so much better.
That's so, Ellen, thank you so much. Now let's pass on the microphone to Leanne.
So thank you, Elke. And I have to say that, one of the things that I've learned, and I'm much older than Ellen, is that we can always learn from younger people. And Ellen truly is one of my inspirations, and literally watching her in those days she described back where she was piloting this in her grade 4 classroom. I was the special ed person in the school. So I had the opportunity right at the ground level to be able to see the wonderful work and literally how the children changed. And as my journey went forward, you should always look for experts and take best practices. So I took a page out of Ellen's book where I was dealing with, I'm a CBT, cognitive behavior therapy counselor. I'm a guidance counselor. I was a teacher. I still maintain my license. But what I was noticing is that there was a lot of things that was stopping children from learning that was beyond just the basics of can they read, can they write. Not only that, and what I was observing is that there is such an incredible lack of information about mental health and how it shows its face in a classroom. And there were so many children being misdiagnosed, and I'm going to even argue medicated, and being labeled with ADD or ODD or all kinds of diagnoses. And they may in fact be true, but they also may be comorbid. They may be happening at the same time as mental health issues. So I was working one-on-one with clients and just sort of going forward to schools and even universities who have teachers college and saying, how much time are you spending about mental health in the classroom? And getting an answer of what I knew was very little. And I was offering free seminars to them saying, I'll come in, I will talk to your teachers, I will train them, I will talk to the students, whatever you want. And what I realized then is very quickly, obviously, like I'm only one person. So how do I take what I'm trying to do and spread this knowledge and make it reach a bigger community? So again, taking a page from the Ellen book of achieving great things and dreaming big, I created something called Mental Health Empowerment Day. It's a little bit of a misnomer, as you will see while I explain it, because it's no longer just one day. So any great organization obviously has to have a vision and a purpose. And we at Mental Health Empowerment Day, which is literally a group of volunteers, friends and family who I have positively, hopefully encouraged to join me on this mission. And we've decided to do this. Our three main goals are to destigmatize mental health. What I noticed, again, learning from the younger generation, is they're much more willing to talk about these issues. They're much more willing to admit when they're struggling. And they're also much more willing to seek help when they need it. It's not a shh, something we don't talk about or something that doesn't exist in our home. We know statistically, unfortunately, even pre-COVID, it was, 1 in 3, it was about 30%. And now, unfortunately, as we're seeing the statistics and the impact of COVID and lockdowns and job losses and all kinds of things, that our rates are skyrocketing, and they're even more. So we aim to destigmatize, to create a forum for education so that people have the tools and the ability to understand what they're dealing with, what signs to recognize in their children or in youth who may be suffering from a mental health issue, when to seek help, when to be able to know exactly what it is that we're dealing with, and also to just create a forum where we stop misusing terms. I mean, every day I'm reading something or watching something on Netflix and we hear things like, oh, I'm so OCD, which is incredibly a wrong use of diagnoses, and it's kind of making fun of something. And I find that incredibly offensive. So we want to educate. And the last piece we want to do is build community, have a place that people can go to get all this information and to also find other people. There's nothing more hopeful than seeking out another person who's been through your journey and hopefully come out the other end and learn the lessons along the way. Imagine being able to prevent or avoid mistakes that other people have made. So we also created a brand. So here's our little mental health empowerment guy. At the time when he was created, I asked one of my clients, I had a bunch of different versions, and they said, no, this guy's kind of chubby and he looks like he would need friends. So let's pick him. So we've created him. He exists on all our marketing materials. We have agendas. At our last in-person event, everyone received a coffee mug with some tea, because tea is something that helps people. so we used to hold a one day a year seminar where we would bring in experts from all over the world. We would bring in lived experience individuals, and I'm most proud to say that ahead of the curve, we were aware of, the BIPOC issues and being able to bring in people's, because mental health doesn't care what color your skin are, or what your sexual orientation is, or what your economic status is. It just hits everyone, and we need to all be in it together. And now with COVID, in October, we were supposed to have our annual event. Obviously it got moved to online. And again, one of the silver linings of COVID, as Ellen described, is that now people are getting used to this Zoom format. And we were able to bring in, the woman I was bringing in was a professor from the University of San Diego, who was a world expert on youth dealing with mental health issues. And she did it online, and we attracted twice as many people, which means we were able to get almost 1,000 viewers to hear about her. And what was most unbelievable is she was incredibly, incredibly hopeful, talking about how the next gen gets media better than the new gen. And she actually gave a message of hope. And a lot of the feedback I got after was so positive. But what we are doing in COVID is we're not waiting a year anymore to do our next event. We're having an event on February 7th, bringing in another expert. It's a Sunday morning for an hour. It's free. And what we hope to do is continue to spread those three messages: end stigma, create educational forum, and forums to give people access to experts they wouldn't get, and also to provide a building of community. So through our website, people can ask questions. We are not medical doctors, we make that clear. But there's something very powerful sometimes you can get from somebody, as I said, who's lived through it. And we try our very best to connect people that need help. So that's really what Mental Health Empowerment Day is about.
So it's now a year, not day. It's all good.
It's mental.
And
yes,
I think
that's one of the, another thing is that people have now are willing to talk about it. That idea that, a depressed person is somebody over there, or somebody who's super anxious exists over there. I think what COVID has done is given people the opportunity to see, I get it now. I get what it's like to not want to get out of bed because, I'm just too scared. And I think that's a real opening in the world of mental health to let people through the door, and let's have those conversations. It's not everyone else, it's all of us. And our mental health is just as important as our physical health.
And I agree with you because, before many years ago, when you weren't physically well, the doctor would bleed you to kind of like cure you. Remember, they would cut you and bleed you and now we know that going to the gym is a good thing, and it's good for the body, and everybody goes to the gym, and you can actually see the benefits of working out and going for walks and all those things. When you are physically ill, normally, if there's a bad illness, cancer, any of those things, you can see it in the x-ray and the MRI and all these things. You can see the bump, the lump, the whatever. But mental health is still something that when you catch it, and everybody has mental health. It's good health or bad health. And that's what we're failing to see, right? So, but by the time you detect it, it might be too late. Or the fixing of the issue might be too late, right? You don't, the symptoms go unnoticed, and then it might be too late. So let me send the question, go in reverse now. Leanne, before COVID, how were you fundraising, and how did COVID change, and what's changed for you guys?
So I really have been very kind of adamant that we were going to make all of our events available to everyone, because so we've done, in terms of fundraising, it's been a lot of peer-to-peer, asking people that I know, people who have attended an event will say, wow, I thought that was, I really learned something. I want to make sure other people do. So our fundraising has really been along those lines. But what COVID has done, and I have to say again, this is thanks to Ellen, is through Project Give Back, at least one unbelievable individual decided to, when her summer camp wasn't available, she took on a project of, through her Project Give Back, of baking cookies and delivering them, just a way to spread joy. Like, what is bad for your mental health or your physical health about getting a nice box of chocolate chip cookies from a friend, right? So, and she, over the course of several weeks, managed to raise over $4,000. And I love the fact that this was a young 13-year-old girl who took this upon herself. After our event in October, we have a donate button on our webpage, and we got hundreds of dollars, people who were just thankful that these events exist, and that you could attend them in your pajamas because the camera was off, and people were very pleased to be able to make sure that these things are available to more people. So really, that's it. We've never aggressively gone forward to fundraise. And I think, and I don't mean to, though it will slam Bell a little, though I've signed so many Bell contracts, I'm going to be paying them after I'm dead, I'm sure. But, there's these big fundraisers, and I think it's amazing. They get celebrities and they put up billboards and they give 5 cents of all of our tweets and our whatever, our calls. But small little organizations like us, who are just made up of a bunch of people who are passionate about a subject and just trying to get out there, we're not eligible for any of that money. So again, I'm not slamming them. They do great work, but I think it's important that we recognize that small little organizations can have a huge impact as well. And, hospitals are great, and arts organizations are amazing, and people need jobs. And I get that. And I'm not dissuading people from giving to those. But small organizations like us, we're not we can't get government money, and we can't get money from those big organizations. So it's really been peer-to-peer and people who have had a touch point with us and found it to be helpful.
It's fabulous. And that's why we're here. That's what we want to do. We want to make it public and go out and crazy loud so everyone can hear. So Ellen, tell us about how you used to fundraise and how you are fundraising now, post-COVID, and going forward.
Okay, well, first of all, thanks, Leanne. I've been to all of Leanne's empowerment days, and just if you go to one, you just want to be a donor because you believe in what she's doing, and it's so inspiring, and all of her speakers are just so real, right? It's real. It's not fabricated. It's raw, and I think you're doing an amazing job. So I just wanted to say that. But similar to what Leanne is doing, when we started Project Give Back, it was all word of mouth. So we would go to our donors, and they're become part of our family, and we communicate with them constantly. We bring our supporters into our classrooms. We talk to them all the time. Many of them are parents of people who had kids in the program. I'm a firm believer, if you do good and you show that you're doing good and you're transparent and you're real and you're raw and you're passionate, people are going to believe in you and support you. And that appreciating, that showing that gratitude and appreciation and really meaning it. Like our supporters know, without them, there's no program. We can't do it. The schools can only afford so much. So we would go to our pool of family members or team or supporters. I don't like to use the word donors because they are part of our team. Our supporters are so important, and they know that. So they're part of this journey. And because, as you know, we're so grassroots, they've been with us since the beginning, and we're on year 15. Before Project Give Back, we had another family charity called Jacob's Ladder. And for Jacob's Ladder, we had those big events. And to be perfectly honest, I was completely burnt out from having them. I loved them and was so inspired by them, and they are wonderful, but I couldn't do it anymore. And I just, talking with people and having coffee with people and having little parlor meetings, I just found was so much more meaningful for Project Give Back. And through COVID, you know, I have to be honest, our supporters have been unbelievable. They're still supporting us. They're still, and you know, we've called them and said, you know, we understand it's such a difficult time. And they said, well, we still want to support you. Don't you need our support? And we need it more than ever. So I just feel really lucky to have the relationships we have, and our supporters are part of our team. And that's how we have done our donations from the beginning and continue to do it now.
Leanne, what about you? Your supporters, and I agree, passion drives everything, and people will follow you. And I've seen you in action, so passion is like, everybody needs to meet this woman. So, okay, Leanne, please tell us, what about you?
So I think similarly, I think one of the things that's most incredible is we're just a group of people, and what comes after each event is people suddenly coming out saying, oh, I want to be part of this. I want to help you. I can, help get this message to this group, or, we have a parents association or a church group or whatever, and they also want to hear this message. And as I said before, mental health has no limit to who it affects. And the way we view Mental Health Empowerment Day is there's no limit to who we want to help. We've initially started, as I said, focusing on teachers and that sort of education, and counselors and people who have touch points, coaches, people who have touch points with children. But what I have to say is we've evolved it now. It's really, really very focused on parents. I think that parents are at a loss. They face something. I hear from them every day in my work, is this, as Elke said, like you find yourself in a situation, and, not everything can be answered on Google or WebMD. And you need sometimes to have a clear way to get the access to be able to ask the questions or to be able to get the information that you need. And I do believe that building community around mental health is really important, so we can help the people who need the help, and give them, I tried this, or do this, or, the most common question I get is often, if I don't do anything about this, will it go away? And, my answer back may be a little sarcastic, but, if you don't wear glasses and you can't see, I'm not sure you're going to, you can't decide to suddenly see better. Mental health issues are not a choice. They're not, whoever's doing them are not doing it to bother you. They're suffering. And like Elke said, you can't see it like you see a broken leg, but we need to imagine that it's there and not accuse people of pretending about it. And the parents really need to air those, have a forum to air those questions, to really be in touch with people who have the best practices. Even I think front loading it. My dream would be to educate people early so that we can avoid some of these things. There's, things that we can be doing to ensure that we have better mental health, including stop blaming people if they're suffering. And second of all, stop telling people that doing something for yourself is selfish. In this day and age of COVID, self-care is really, really important. Taking that walk, appreciating nature, knitting, doing a puzzle, reading a book, whatever it is that makes you feel good is a critical part to each person in your home, as we're trying to get through this extremely difficult time that happens once every 100 years. So of course it's hard. So let's make it better by sticking together and helping each other. So I think the most powerful thing is to continue to provide the programming and the forum for as many people as possible to be able to, in a simple and easy and honest, like it's very grassroots. We're just people, and we want to, give you access to the best people out there to give you the advice that you need.
And that's wonderful, because I think, like, if we put Project Give Back and Mental Health Empowerment Day together, like, if people only talked and were empathetic, I'm pretty sure we all have depression in our family, and it could be the brother, the uncle, the aunt, the neighbor, the friend, the acquired uncle or aunt, or a combination thereof. You know, the depression, the suicide, the anxiety, the insecurity, and the spectrum of mental health. It ranges from, and if instead of criticizing, you could say, oh, like, tell me more. That little bit of empathy would take us so much further. Because going like this, like the 2-year-old, doesn't make the problem go away. I know I've tried that when I was little. Is my mom gone? No. So she's still there, and I'm still in trouble. So it's being human and talking about it is so important. And something I wanted to mention is, for our listeners, we will ask you to ask questions, because this is when it gets really, really, really fun. And of course, Ellen and Leanne and I could talk for the next 6 days nonstop. But we want you to have an opportunity to ask all your questions and make it yours. So Ellen, let's go to you now. Are there any COVID learnings to date that you will carry on into the future?
Absolutely. So when we got hit, we lost a lot of our public schools because they couldn't gather up the equipment as quickly as all the other schools. So we had to hold back, and actually we lost 20 of our teachers during that time. It was a difficult time for us, I must say. But I couldn't let that go. I couldn't not see those kids and keep our communication with them, because many of those schools are inner city schools, rough neighborhoods where they needed us. They needed our love. They needed our support. They counted on our visits because we believe in those kids and we love them so much. I'm almost like a booby that comes in, and I just love them and believe in them. And you see the results, and they're so excited when myself or any of our teachers come in. They come running, and we get these huddled hugs, and I just couldn't let that go. So I started something, and this is because of COVID. I wouldn't have done it otherwise. And it's called Project Give Back Connects. And it's every other Wednesday night. And often in our classes, there's always a theme. And anxiety is often a theme that we talk about: mental health, physical health, homelessness, whatever it is, cancer. We talk about that theme. So Project Give Back Connects is introducing that theme, bringing in an expert from that theme, bringing in a young person who's really made an impact in the world, and bringing in a performer, a young performer who sings. And that's on every other Wednesday night. Leanne has been one of our guests, and she spoke about anxiety. All the episodes are taped, and they're sent to hundreds of classroom teachers to share with their classes. And they're only half an hour. That's all they are. But they've been so inspiring, and they've really helped a lot of people, because we're diving into some topics that, we did talk about in the classrooms that aren't really happening now. So it really opens up a whole new world, and they can be shown everywhere. And we now have a YouTube channel, which we didn't have before. It's called Project Give Back Connects, and you can watch that at any time. So it's allowed us to grow that way. And I'm not going to stop that. We're full all the way till September. I have people booked, and so excited. They're amazing people. Can't wait to showcase them. And the other thing we've been able to do is we've been able to virtually video our lessons. So we can now, we're in the midst of it. We've hired this amazing guy because we have the time to do this now. And any teacher from anywhere in the world can come to us and we can work with them and they can teach this in their own classroom. And there'll be a class by class instructional video that we can work with them. So honestly, without COVID, we wouldn't have been able to do these things. So, you know, yes, I hate it like everyone else. I just, I probably hate COVID as much as I do Canavan disease, which is the disease that took my son. But there have been silver linings to it. And those two things are silver linings that we have seen. I'll be able to hire all my teachers back next year, which is, I'm so excited about. So, yeah.
Like if there's anyone on earth that will always find the positive, that's you. Leanne, what about you? What have you learned?
So that's amazing. And again, just amazing, Ellen, to be able to just keep it going and spreading it. I think we at Mental Health Empowerment Day are going to be, again, moving, as I said, we're no longer Mental Health Empowerment Day. We're now going to try to do 3 or 4 events. I think that there is clamor amongst our group to make sure we highlight specific issues. For example, OCD, which I mentioned, and, you know, being able to really touch people that are suffering, because that seems to be, you know, and there's also another one I'm very interested in doing is one on health anxiety, which is now a diagnosis in the DSM. So just being very specific moving forward. And the other thing is that we've added to our website this, you know, place where people can ask their questions so that the questions are being answered. If there's something that one of us who are one of the volunteers feels qualified and capable of answering, we're going to do that. If not, we will make sure that we get to, because over the years we've built up access to, you know, leading experts, so to be able to get people answers to questions. And I think moving forward, to just continue to provide, again, access and spread the word. And knowing, you know, I mentioned I was on a webinar, whatever it's called, a Zoom call, last night in Montreal, and that came right through somebody writing into the Mental Health Empowerment Day site saying they had watched our thing. Would I be willing to come to talk to a small group about a specific issue? So I think it's just about kind of getting used to and owning the technology to the best of our ability. So it's no longer viewed as our enemy, and now it's kind of our friend, even us old people, and being able to hopefully continue to encourage the young people who are willing to talk. On our webpage, you can see we have a series of all kinds of people who have either written in, or we have these things called MHead Talks, and you can watch them, and they're very inspiring. Those are some of our lived experience individuals to hear their journey. There's nothing more powerful, I don't believe, than hearing from that. So those are smaller missions that we're going to continue, but you know, we're going to continue to do them. And you know, even if you help, we have no idea, and I would probably say the same from Ellen, you never know when you do this, who you've affected positively and how you've affected them, and whether it sits as a little kernel in their mind and in 3 years they suddenly get it. And I think that's okay. I think that, to Elke, to what you're doing right here, teaching people this idea that charitable giving, maybe it's not possible right now, but you know, in the future, giving of yourself is a huge, huge marker to end depression. Giving your time, your money, your energy, your of yourself, and using your empathy is one of the main things that a person can do to be mentally healthy. So I feel like it closes the circle, how we're all working together to kind of do the same thing. So thank you for doing it and all the work you're doing.
Well, our forum is yours, so we will scream it out loud to everyone. So I'm going to open it to the public to see if anyone has questions. Let me start with one that I found very interesting. And since you're talking about education, is if you, like some of our clients say, how can we teach our kids about philanthropy and charity and giving back? What would your advice be to you, to these people?
I think everyone should attend Ellen's program, and Project Give Back is doing just that. I think it's teaching the value. It's about learning about philanthropy and realizing that a small amount of money or a small amount of contribution can really make a difference to that one person. So I know I got an email from a kid that said, I'm collecting socks because there's homeless people that don't have socks. So what it did was cause us to run around the house and find, like, there's socks that you don't wear. You always seem to go back to the same ones, right? If they're actually in a pair. And those are really little things, but those are life-changing for somebody who doesn't have it. So my advice would be, it's never too early to model being a charitable human being, and that your family will be better off for doing that, and that to be always aware that your kids are watching, and that it's okay to tell them, you got $100 from all your birthday things. Or we used to do this with my kids. Here are all your birthday presents. You don't really need them all. Let's take a couple and drop them off at a shelter or down at a hospital. Like, if you have the capacity, anything that you can do and teach your children to do it from a very young age, I think it pays off in spades, and they feel good about it.
We want to thank our viewers, and thank you for spending the hour and joining us. We want to make this a movement, and it starts small, but we want to make it loud and send it everywhere. When we post this video on our website, obviously Ellen and Leanne will do the same on theirs. Please share it. Please invite people, show off, make sure that everybody knows it. And we will have the links to donate there as well. I think money is great and it's very needed, but I think when you turn people into your ambassadors, it's much more powerful. So yes, we will take the money directly to their sites. As I'll say, Rubach Wealth has absolutely nothing to do with not one single dollar there. But although you might get a little surprise, both of you. But we want to make this something that can be repeated every month, and if possible, if it grows big enough, let's do it every day. So let's teach everyone. Let's educate everyone, and making it a welcoming place for people to ask their questions about how to give and how to feel better. I think it's all a good thing to do. So thank you very much to everyone. And we look forward to welcoming you next month to a very different edition of the Rubach Wealth Living Room Giving. Again, super thank you, heartfelt thank you to Leanne and Ellen. And we will see you soon.